Hey, y'all, welcome back. Today I'm with one of our Bright Home Energy experts, Greg Field. He's actually been in home energy efficiency for 17 years, but who's counting? And today we want to just give a background about other things. Yes, we are a solar installation company, but we're so much more. Hence the name Bright Home Energy. Okay, today we're focused on home energy efficiency as well as storage, because when you think of solar in general, it's like, solar is one thing, storage is one thing, and home energy efficiency is another thing. We're uniquely niched in the marketplace to be able to tie in all three, but we're also in a unique place where we can do them all individually. And I wanted to bring, one of the top experts in this field and in the state of Arizona, Greg, on to really talk about the value of that, because as solar is changing, sometimes right now solar may not be what's best for you, but upgrading your home, its efficiency as well as storage, there's a lot of great things to discuss here. So, Greg, just to kind of hop into it, for you, paired with the energy efficiency items that we have, what do you feel are the best ways for a customer to be able to add efficiency to their home for the best cost?
I think so. Every home's different, right? We don't look at a one size fits all package for most homeowners. I think in today's world, we were dealing with, an economy that's a little tighter, more inflationary pressures. Consumers like, well, I don't want solar necessarily because I know it's a big spend. So what we do, and this is what I embraced why I came over to Bright Home Energy, I don't want to go to a traditional solar company. I think a lot of customers don't want to go to a solar only vendor either. They want to have somebody who comes out and actually figures out, like, what are the best steps for me to do? That may include efficiency upgrades depending on the age of your home. That could be sealing ducts, adding insulation. We'll talk about it more in depth. Or it could be adding a battery and not having solar and grid charging your battery and using that against your peak hours. There's a number of innovative strategies that I love at Bright Home that you guys diversify on. So we look at the homeowner and say, okay, every situation's unique. We're going to go in and assess, like, what is the best way to get this homeowner a return on investment? And that may or may not include efficiency, solar, battery, or a combination of the three. So every home's a little bit different. We kind of assess, what are we looking at? So we do an informal energy audit when we come in. We look at your insulation depth. Is it even? Is there good, consistent R value? R value being resistance to heat flow. The thicker that insulation blanket is, the better it protects you from the heat coming in the summer and trapping that heat inside the home to make the house more comfortable in the winter. Looking at the ducts. So looking at the average home, this is per Energy Star, about 90% of ducts out there leak over 20% of their air. So if you think about the average homeowner, you're spending 25% of the air you're spending to cool, which is very expensive, which is APS and SRP. You're losing 25% of air in the attic. And the other problem is, and people don't realize this, the leaks on the duct system, a lot of that's on the flex duct in the attic. That leak is actually pulling in some of that air from the attic. You're pulling in dust and allergens. So when your home is consistently dusty and you notice on the vents, you see all the dust accumulation, that's a telltale sign of duct leakage.
Yeah.
And I go to most homes, I can go to a homeowner and say, look at your vents. You can see the dust accumulation. The homeowner reaction is, well, let me go get my ducts clean. And my reaction is, why are your ducts getting dirty in the first place? It's because they're leaking.
Right.
So let's fix the issue, and then you don't need duct cleaning. You'll have cleaner air, less allergens. Yeah. The other thing is, and most homes are consistently, and I've seen new homes with this issue, where they have a hot room. So the further they get away from the supply, that air that they're losing in the duct system through duct leakage, they're not getting the airflow into that room. And so now they've got this hot room nobody wants to be in. It's your office or what have you. It's my daughter's bedroom. Well, so we identify, what is that room? We go and look at the duct system. Normally, it's usually an accumulation of duct leakage that leads to that issue.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we do a process called AeroSeal. Now, what's unique about AeroSeal, a lot of guys will come in and they'll just seal your boots and registers. They'll manually fix what they can see. They're missing a lot of the interior ductwork, especially inside the walls, in the interstitial space on your second floor. There's ducting there you can't reach. So what I love about what Bright Home does is we use a process called AeroSeal. So we actually pressurize the duct system, we seal all the vents, and then we push in an aerosol sealant. It's like a hot suspended glue that's pushed into the actual duct work itself. That air is pressurized, and because the actual vents are all blocked, wherever the air is escaping, that's where the air is leaking. And the actual AeroSeal seals it from the inside out, so we don't have to have access inside your ducting. We're not going to miss any traditional spots they would miss with a more traditional mastic or what we call just a manual seal.
Yeah.
This is a much more involved process. The other thing that's cool about AeroSeal is you get a pre and post test. So we'll show you before we start the leakage sealing, we'll show you how much are you leaking, Average home is over 200 cubic feet per minute, which is over 20% loss. And then on the post test, we can show you AeroSeal is effective to sealing almost 95% of that leakage.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty, and I know you had that done on your home.
Yep.
I think Nate had
Yep.
that as well done on home. I think you guys had pretty good results on your energy bills, but that's a great way to start with a home, seal up the ducts. And then this is also a statistic from Energy Star. I think 9 out of 10 homes are under insulated, and usually significantly about half or a quarter of the insulation depth they need. So in the Southwest, we need an R38. That's going to be roughly 12 to 14 inch on a cellulose. And that compacts over time. Most homes, you'll go into the attic, or I'll go in the attic and I'll look, they're 3 or 4 inches. They're trapping maybe a 0.25%, 1 out of 4 of the air trap that they need. And so they're losing a lot of air. So what happens in the summer, you're cooling your air and you're losing a lot of that just through your wall plates, your vents. Because the attic is not insulated appropriately, the blanket is not even, you're losing a lot of that efficiency and that cold air you're spending for, you're losing it. So one of the kind of step ones we look at for most homes is we assess the insulation depth, because that's usually something we want to address. We usually double or triple it depending on where your R value is. And then we look at your ducts. We assess, is there leakage? Will this help your home? And if it does, we're going to seal your ducts as well. So the first step we look with most homes is what I call the low-hanging or the best ROI. Look at the most impactful steps. That's adding insulation and sealing your ducts. And then if that's already been done or the house is fairly efficient, another concept that we're really big on at Bright Home Energy, not Bright Home Solar, Bright Home Energy, is looking at your energy and saying, okay, we know you're on a standard time of use plan. How can we make your plan a lot cheaper for you? One of the ways we can do that is switch you to what's called a demand charge plan with APS SRP. The challenge with that plan, it has a multiplier. So what the utility does, they take your worst 1 hour or half hour of peak for the month, and they use that as a multiplier against the fee, the demand charge. And that fee can go over $100 a month just on demand, and then you have the off-peak and on-peak charge. So that fee can be really expensive if you use too much power during peak. One of the strategies we use at Bright Home is we put a battery on your house. We don't have to add solar. The battery can actually charge, and we can put you on that demand charge plan. Now your battery is charging off-peak at around 5 cents per kilowatt hours, which is very inexpensive.
Right.
And now you're using that battery to export during those 3 hours of peak with APS or the 6 hours of peak with the SRP. And now you're running home on super cheap wholesale power, basically, for the morning, the mid-afternoon. And then during peak, you're running on the battery. That's a smart strategy to set your home up to run on a battery only. You can charge on that wholesale rate.
Right.
You don't have to start with solar. And then that battery, like Tesla Powerwall 3 has its own inverter built in. With that battery, you already have an inverter built in. So a step 3 to that home that may be logical depending on how long you're in the home and those types of things, you could look at maybe adding solar as your final step.
Yeah.
So we kind of look at the home and say, okay, I know it's a long answer to your question, but it's really looking at the home and saying what makes the most sense. How long is this homeowner going to be in the home? What are some of the low-hanging fruit we can go after, the best ROI steps? And then figure out a game plan. We game plan the home. We don't just come in and say, well, we're a solar company. We're going to sell you the biggest system we can. And I would bet you could meet with 5 other solar companies in the valley, and most of them will say, where are your roofs that I can put panels on? I'm going to throw panels on them.
Right.
And part of that, I'll get into this if you want to, but part of that is our industry issue is sales reps in solar, their commission is based on the size of system they sell. So the bigger the system, the more commission they make. So a lot of reps out there will make decisions based on how do I get compensated. So if I could sell you a 5 kilowatt system, a small system with dedicated west roof, producing power during peak, I could sell you that system and make X amount. Or I could try to do a solar as a Band-Aid approach and sell you a 10 kilowatt and make a lot more money. A lot of reps will say, well, I could do the right thing, which is 5 kilowatt and more directional west, or I could just throw solar all over your roof and charge you more.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of homeowners get overcharged. They get too much solar, they don't have the right rate plan, they don't have a battery, and they're not really combating the rate plan or getting the residual small bill they're looking for.
Sure. Yeah, and I think when we started, almost a decade ago, like that was our whole thing is we want to be a whole home approach. Just because a lot of times with what's going on with solar, the tax credit tariffs, those sort of things, it's like, we're going to be around long term because we don't just do solar. Like that's the reason we are the best installer home energy company in the state of Arizona is because we're not just solar, take it or leave it. We're really trying to get in the door and figure out what are your needs, what makes sense for you. Yeah, sure. If doing all 3 at the same time makes sense, great. If doing 1 or 2 before you do the 3rd makes sense, awesome. That's really what we're focused on is what matters to you and what is best for your home, not what is going to be the best, I guess, lining pockets for a sales rep or whatever. And because we do everything in-house, like that's our goal, is to make sure you're happy, because we know if you have a great experience with energy efficiency and home storage and you see the results on your power bill, well, yeah, when you're ready to go solar, who you're going to call? You're going to call us because we treated you fairly from the beginning. Now, that's another kind of concept, Greg. I guess I'll kind of defer to you. Like, what are, when somebody's thinking about, like, because the way it is right now, solar can be kind of a trigger word for people. You may have sat down with a bunch of companies. You may have had friends that had bad experiences, see things online, all those sorts of things. But, like, what is it about taking the approach from an energy efficiency and storage standpoint? Like, what could a customer expect from, like, how does that make more sense versus, like, let's put 200% offset as far as panels go on your house?
The analogy I always use for homeowners is, no matter how much solar we put on your roof, we're not going to fix the efficiency, the envelope of your home. We're not going to fix the comfort of your home. We're not going to fix the air quality of your home. So to me, it makes no sense to just throw solar on the roof and say, use it as a Band-Aid and say, now you're done.
Right.
Because you still have that hot room. You still have dust coming through your duct leakage. You still have your insulation's deficient, so now you're losing air conditioning. One of the strategies that we've adopted at Bright Home that we're big fans of is something called supercooling. So if you do a battery only, you want to try and cool your house as much as you can an hour and a half before peak hours, and then try to have your AC on a higher temperature setting. The only way you can do a supercooling strategy with any home is you have to start with an efficient home first. Right. So they have to have their envelope has to be fixed. They have to have a thick enough insulation depth. They have to have ducts that don't leak or leak very little. To do those things, we kind of have to hit those things first anyway. So I just look at solar and say, okay, there's homes that solar makes sense for. Your house is efficient. You've got the budget. You're long term. Let's throw solar on the roof. But let's be smart and let's be directional. The thing about how we do solar at Bright Home, we're surgical. We look at the rate plan. We look at your needs. We design the system based on that. So even with solar, we're kind of moderated. We don't go big system size. I'm usually the rep at the table saying, let's make the solar smaller and make sure you have a budget for battery, because that battery has to be there to export power when the solar ends, and the solar is always going to end before peak hours end. Yeah. So you kind of need a combination approach. But in regards to efficiency, I think for most homeowners, it's like, I don't want to waste money. So if I make my house more efficient, I have better air quality, my house is more comfortable, my bills are lower. Oh, and by the way, I need to have less peak hour usage now, and now I need a smaller solar system. Right. So now you're not overspending on any step, and each of those steps kind of organically dovetails to the next. So if it's done right, you get the best bang for your buck, you get the best treatment, you get a credible sales rep. So what we do at Bright Home that's also different, we're not a sales rep company, we're sales consultants. We actually come in and consult. What that means is we educate you on product. We're big on educating on solar panels. Not all solar panels are built the same. Most reps will say, what do we care? They're all 400 watt, they're all black, they're all the same. The worst advice you can get. In Phoenix, temperature matters. How the panel performs in heat is really critical. Yep. Understanding how solar works. So our approach here at Bright Home is we have energy consultants that come out and consult, inform, educate. We're not out there to sell you something. And I think the education piece is a big piece of what's missing in this industry. And that's something that really attracted me to coming to Bright Home is it's a very consultant, educated approach. We want to come in and figure out what are the right steps, what's the right order. And I always tell homeowners this, I'm not here to overspend your money. I'm going to treat your home like it's mine. So I'm going to make sure every dollar goes the right way. I'm going to resource the steps the way I would do it on my own home. And I mean that from the day I meet with the homeowner till we finish. And I think the credibility you get when you actually speak from that place of truth, like I want to treat you as somebody I respect and want to have a real relationship with. A lot of companies are more transactional. They're like, I come in, I sell you solar, you don't hear from me again. That's not the relationship we seek out. I just think it's a different interplay that we look for. We're looking for real, meaningful relationships and that consultant, educated approach. And that's why we hit efficiency first, because we don't want to see you overspend on solar or have a bad battery experience because your house is too inefficient.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, no matter what approach you go with, whether they're all three in one, efficiency only, battery only, solar only, like you're only going to be dealing with us. So from the jump, like Google us, look us up on the BBB. We have phenomenal reviews because we do good work, because we set the right expectations from the beginning, and we take that consultative educational approach to where we're really digging in the weeds to see what is working in the home, what's not working in the home. Like if we get up in the attic and you don't need it, awesome, we can check that off the list because you already have it. Like we're not going to give you something you already have. Same with, the AeroSil. Like as far as that goes, I just think that, you're going to be our long-term customer. So it's not like, hey, thanks for the transaction, we're moving on, best of luck. 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, you're still our customer. So it matters that from the beginning, you're getting treated the right way so that in 5, 10, 15 years, when you do call us, because you're going to have to call us back at some point, we're going to be there to answer and we're going to, take care of you. And more importantly, you're going to know that from the beginning you were taken care of as well. But whenever I'm sitting down with a homeowner, like I do get the question like, okay, when it comes to home efficiency, like there's attic fans, there's like the blown in wall insulation, there's like all this crazy stuff. Like, why don't you clean ducts? Well, the reason I don't clean ducts is because I can go ahead and clean your ducts, but like if we don't fix what the problem was, I'm just coming back to clean your ducts again in 6 to 12 months. So for us, what we've really focused on, like we've already done the research for you. What is the best bang for the buck? It's insulation in your attic, okay? Every home has a warm spot in their room. This is going to even out the temperature of your home. Now, when you have the thermostat at 76, it's going to feel like more like 74, 75. You might be cranking your thermostat up saying, hey, like what I used to keep it at is too cool, because it's evenly dispersed throughout the home and you're not losing that energy. And number two, when it comes to AeroSeal, we want to fix the problem, okay? We don't want to keep coming to clean your ducts and charge you for that every 6 to 12 to 18 months, because the fact of the matter is, you can clean the dust, but it's eventually going to come back, and how much of that is already going to be going into your home in that time in the first place. So by doing AeroSeal, it's sealing up your ductwork so you don't have to worry about cleaning your ducts anymore. And then the last one would just be, and it's a simple fix, but LED lights. With LEDs in your home, if you think about it, it's summer, it's 120 degrees outside. You're cranking that air conditioner to like cool the home down, but you have 100 lights in the home emitting heat. That's counterproductive. And so by throwing in some LED lights, they're super cost effective. So AeroSeal, insulation, and LED lights are the best bang for your buck in home efficiency. And that's why we offer those things. That's not why we offer attic fans and blown-in insulation and duct cleaning, is because yes, those could be for one-off scenarios a good answer or remedy, but for by and large 95% of homes, those three things right there are going to give you the best bang for your buck, is what you're looking for.
And to dovetail on that, a lot of homeowners are under the misconception that all attics have passive ventilation. They've got venting on the edges, they've got some venting on the roof to passive ventilation. A lot of homeowners make the mistake of thinking, I'll add some attic fans, solar powered or electric, and they put active ventilation on the attic. The challenge is what happens in those attics, you're already leaking cold, conditioned air out of your ducts. When you put in a pressurized environment, when you're pulling that air out actively, you're actually pulling more of the air conditioning out of the duct. You're actually losing more of the cool air.
Right.
So I tell homeowners the worst thing you can do is put active ventilation on an attic. Stick with all the passive ventilation you have, and then like you said, add to the blanket, make the insulation thick so it's doing its job both winter and summer, and then seal the ducts. You do those two things, and that would be Energy Star recommended as the best two things to do anyway, not just Bright Home Energy. That's Energy Star recommended. That is the fix for about 90% of the attics out there. And those are the highest yield, best returning steps that you can do as a homeowner. So the identification process that we've put in already is like, we want to do our homework so when we come out, we're not wasting your time. We're doing the audit. We're going to verify that these steps need to be done. Something else that needs to be pointed out on AeroSeal, when we do a pre-test on AeroSeal, if we pre-test your ducts and there's not enough leakage there, we're going to stop. We're not going to actually do AeroSeal. We're not going to waste $1 of your money. So we also, every step we do, including how we do our actual application processes, we don't do things unless we know they're going to benefit you. Again, part of that is, do you want to hire a company who's got that kind of credibility and focus on doing the right thing for you as the homeowner, or you want to call a company who's just going to send out a solar salesman? That's where Bright Home is a very different approach. I think the best compliment I've gotten in my 17 years of selling solar and efficiency is when homeowners at the very end say, I learned a lot tonight. I don't want to hear I sold you, because that's to me insulting. I'm not there to sell you anything. I'm there to inform you, educate you, and I'm going to leave that decision to you. We don't put pressure on people. We don't sit at the table and say, well, I'm here. Are you going to make your decision? It's your decision. We're going to validate why we did what we did, what we're recommending, and why we're recommending what we're recommending. But at the end of the day, the homeowner is in charge. You're the decision maker. We defer to you. Our job is to educate and leave the decision for you. So that's a big part of being a consultant and not being a traditional salesperson.
Yep. So here at Bright Home Energy, you're going to get the right information. You're going to get the right efficiency package, and then we're going to be the right company that's going to take care of you throughout the whole process, the installation, and then 10 to 20 years down the road. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Keep checking back to the YouTube page for some more education about getting you the right information for home energy here in Arizona.